Shorty wanna ball with the chick. Money sitting tall, y'all mean what?
Alright, so I have a lot of dreams for this channel, to get 1 million subscribers, to vlog at VidCon, to be featured in articles, and of course I like to gain a large following to spread my music knowledge and opinions to people who never had one in the first place. But unfortunately, with a large following comes the curse of a bad fan base and being placed in a box. And if you've used the app made by our great leader Xi Jinping, then you've already seen the issues surrounding our finally mainstream artist Steve Lacy and his chaotic tour, from the attendees only knowing one lyric from his songs to almost dying of smoke inhalation. Which is why I want to take this video to talk about why maybe instead of going full mainstream, sometimes it's better to keep the niche audience. POV, it's 2000. The world is booming, right? Things are really changing out here for the better, and in the eventual future, for the worst. But as of right now, things are moving, especially in the music industry, with hip-hop slowly becoming the new music meta and the final push for true R&B being brought to the front lines before it eventually just becomes borderline pop music. Now through all of this going on, we had one dude from Richmond, Virginia named D'Angelo, and if you have zero familiarity with that name, good. Or at least to him it is. And the reason why is because from the late 90s to 2000, the now infamous R&B singer was at the peak of his mainstream stardom. He had the magazine covers, the interviews, red carpets, and was seen as the ultimate black male sex symbol. But what nobody knew was that he hated it. He hated the popularity, he hated being treated like some product, and he especially hated being treated like some sex symbol. I mean, when he was doing the tour for his biggest album of his career, Voodoo, he eventually canceled multiple tours and aired out his frustrations both vocally and physically on stage because of how the audience constantly wanted him to take off his clothes and I quote, was only there for his ass. And with all of this pent up frustration, he finally snapped, or in this case, he disappeared. It was like he was a ghost, gone for decades upon decades, all because people didn't want to appreciate his art and instead just wanted to give him the old razzle dazzle. Now I bring this up because recently I was scrolling through the wastelands of social media, aka Twitter, and I saw that Steve Lacy was trending, and it wasn't for how good his latest album was, but instead for how chaotic his tour has become. From some goofy ass fan base to almost dying from smoke inhalation, it's like the man really can't catch a break. And it sucks because by the looks of it, it seems that he's finally hit the mainstream light. But as per usual with going mainstream, you have to deal with his very annoying consequences. Like they were out there throwing cameras on stage thinking that he was going to take a photo for them. Like bro, if that was me, that shit would have been flying right back to them niggas. And Steve has taken Instagram to address whatever the hell's been happening and rightfully justified himself for destroying that camera, which is cool. But unfortunately, you then have literal brainlets on Twitter pissing themselves in frustration because someone's $5 one-shot camera got destroyed. And you know what? I'm not even surprised. And it's not just because Twitter's filled with dickheads who barely made it out of high school, but instead because now he's reached mainstream status thanks to that one song Bad Habit, so now he's been placed in a box of expectations and false narratives that he didn't ask for but will never leave him. And now you're probably wondering, what's wrong with going mainstream? Stop gatekeeping, or whatever bullshit you want to pull out of your ass to justify your anger. But I do just want to say that going mainstream isn't necessarily a bad thing. You get a wider fan base, new career opportunities, and obviously more money in your pocket. But unfortunately with going mainstream, it can also be a drag down for you and your career, because now you're placed in a box by fans only being known for that one song or a special feature about yourself, such as with D'Angelo and Steve Lacy. And that's not it either, because now you have to deal with a whole new fan base that doesn't know any of your old stuff and doesn't know what to expect with your new stuff. Or if push comes to shove, you have to completely change your style to try and fit that wider audience you now have. And I know money and status can be a life changer for a lot of people, but is it really worth losing your sense of self and dignity just for some jackass to throw stuff at you on stage or scream at you to take your clothes off? Maybe, because everybody has a price at the end of the day, but at the same time it doesn't really make it right. Now in an old video I made, I talked about why I think mainstream music is getting oversaturated, and to be honest, I still stand with this opinion today. And the main reason why is because I feel like a lot of surface level mainstream music, especially in hip hop, has been recycled over and over since maybe 2015, with not too many insanely good projects coming out in years from more mainstream artists. And don't get me wrong, there are some undeniably great albums such as Rodeo by Travis Scott and Blonde by Frank Ocean, but at least for me, when I take a look back at some good projects, they tend to be from artists that either didn't hit the commercial limelight in time or still haven't hit it now. And I believe the reason why this contrast exists is because due to those mainstream artists getting so high up in the totem pole, in a way it's now restricted their musical creativity, or perhaps maybe they just hit a ceiling in terms of making exceptional music. And with the former, you could also blame this on the labels because they're just dirty leeches at the end of the day, and they don't really give much of a flying dick and titty how mediocre it sounds as long as it's selling. Now I bring this up because when taking a look back at the Steve Lacy situation and the downfall of D'Angelo, you can kind of see how they were or will be placed in this category of peaking, with Steve now gaining the attention of TikTok kids who literally only know one line from his chorus. And it's not just those two either, with people like DaBaby, Meg Thee Stallion, and even Ice Spice being placed in this box now that they've hit the mainstream market, although DaBaby's kind of ass and irrelevant, but still. And it's not like I'm saying that Steve Lacy will peak musically in the coming years. I mean, at the end of the day, music is objective, but at the same time, when your audience is now starting to turn into people who consume media quicker now more than ever, it's hard to say if you'll ever really be able to branch out like you'd want to, mainly because the labels are going to want you to tap dance to the same rhythm that got you trending in the first place, where your fans are going to only ever expect you to do something that, well, got you trending in the first place. But at the same time, when it comes to branching out while being mainstream, while it can be a major risk to your career, it can also solidify you as one of the best as well. And while I would like to use a certain person as an example, I think I'd rather not deal with the controversies of an anti-Semite, so we're just going to use the new age Tumblr sexy man, Tyler the Creator. Now when thinking about Tyler's albums, which one is going to pop up first? Either this one or maybe this one, right? Now while we can all agree that these were the albums that skyrocketed Tyler beyond anyone else in his lane, at the same time, if you were just a fan of him before 2017, you'll see how weird it is for someone you knew as the edgy, nasty, and wild rapper that was practically blacklisted from the mainstream light to now become the messiah for quirky hip-hop fans, and you just gotta deal with that. And don't get me wrong, I'm not criticizing Tyler's growth both musically and as a person, because that old stuff wasn't sustainable in the long game of hip-hop. But as I said before, in the beginning, Tyler was placed in a box with albums such as Wolf and Goblin being the things that everyone knew him for, but now he's completely changed into this more chill and outgoing feature that isn't just expressive for attention, but instead because it's who he really desires to be. But at the end of the day, going mainstream has its pros and cons, as everything in this world does. It's just about what you're willing to give up or leave behind if it means doing your own thing instead, or selling out to gain money and notoriety. But as for me, I do what I want, which is why this video is sponsored by Rage Shoutout. Nah, I'm just fucking with y'all. But that's just my thoughts on the Steve Lacy situation and how I feel about smaller artists getting bigger. But if you like this video, feel free to subscribe as well. Follow my IG on Twitter, and follow Chocolatte on Instagram for more illustrations. And on that note, I'll see you on Friday when I force Ray to sponsor me. Or else. Peace. Hey guys, quick PSA here from Wallows. Just wanted to let you know that as you are watching this video right now, I will be participating in a podcast with the Just Music team here down in Charleston, South Carolina. So if you want to hear me, spit some bars, some little hot takes on the music scene, feel free to check out. It's going to be in the link in bio. Thanks again to the Just Music team for having me. And yeah, I'll see you guys on Friday.
And I caught a little Pokemon. Do you want to know what Pokemon I caught?
What Pokemon did you catch, Joker?
I caught a little punny, Batman. I caught a little punny.
Oh no, Joker. Don't tell me.
You already know, Batman. You know what I'm gonna do to that thing.
Joker, it's an animal, Joker. You can't.
Batman, there's no laws against the Pokemon, Batman. I can do whatever I want with it.
No, Joker. No, don't do it.
I'm gonna do it, Batman.